Bell. Overall, though, fairly light to moderate, not produce any lightning strikes here in Glades or Hendry. I am expecting some more to be developing here in the next few hours, to be expected with this kind of heat. So I am anticipating scattered showers and storms to be in the mix through 10 o'clock. Then by 11 o'clock, those showers and storms will be coming to an end. So we'll continue to track that for you here at Fox 4 every step of the way, but just stay weather aware. Taking a look at our high resolution rapid refresh model that we update for you every hour here at Fox 4. A couple of those showers and storms expected through the evening, but then notice by 11:30, things are quieting down here across southwest Florida. Overnight tonight, those winds will continue to pump out of the northeast, 10 to 20 miles per hour. It's going to be a pretty breezy overnight time frame. Not expecting any active weather, though, for your Tuesday morning commute. Also, those winds will prohibit and prevent any fog from developing. Now, tomorrow, like today, will also be breezy, and that's going to be another concern, of course, with those fire danger risks. Of course, we do still have very dry conditions, even though we have seen some improvement with our drought, specifically in Collier County, because of afternoon rains here the last couple of days. We are still overall seeing severe to extreme drought conditions here across southwest Florida. So heading into your Tuesday afternoon and evening, isolated showers and storms. Notice, though, very hit and miss. Then looking ahead to your Wednesday, little better opportunity for some of that wet weather as a wave of energy rolls through. So we will see elevated rain chances for your Wednesday afternoon and evening. Here's a closer look now at what we can expect as we head into the overnight time frame. Showers coming to an end. Temperatures starting off around 66 degrees. We'll start off around 66 in Cape Coral, 65 for Punta Gorda. Farther inland, mid-60s also expected. As for those highs, more cloud cover will help to drop back those temperatures. So at least we're not seeing the sweltering heat that we were dealing with this time last week. Keep in mind, we set multiple record highs, hitting the low and mid-90s, feeling more like June. That's not going to be the case, though, for the next few days. With more clouds, better chance for showers, we will be dropping back those temperatures a bit closer to where they should be in the lower 80s for the next couple of days. And especially Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, please have that rain gear close. Scattered showers and storms expected as we wrap up the work week.
The freedom of religion. It's something that we here in America treasure. I mean, it's our First Amendment. But for so long, Native Americans have not had that right. And even today, there are fights to protect not only traditions, but sacred lands that they consider to be their places of worship.
Yeah, my name is Jason Baldus. I'm a member of the Eastern Shoshone Tribe, and we're here at the Wind River Tribal Buffalo Initiative headquarters. Buffalo was missing for about 131 years, but that's a small window in terms of the millennia that we've lived alongside this animal. It's in our DNA. We come from Buffalo people, so this program is working to integrate them back into our lives.
What's happening on this land in west central Wyoming is more than restoring the presence of American bison or buffalo, missing since the late 1800s.
Well, there were 30 to 60 million buffalo on this continent when Lewis and Clark came west in 1804, but they were nearly annihilated.
It's about repairing a hole in the identity of the Eastern Shoshone and Northern Arapaho people.
Nutritionally, academically, ecologically, spiritually, it's very important that we can restore that relationship.
In 2016, 10 bison came to the Wind River Indian Reservation as part of a project to restore the species. The Buffalo Initiative has also raised $8.5 million to buy back surrounding land lost to broken treaty promises to create the proper habitat. There are now 150 bison in the initiative.
You know, reservations were supposed to be places that tribes were able to reserve for their cultural practices. All of these things work to undermine who we were as a people. Fortunately, we've been able to hold on to a lot of those things. We still have our languages, we still have our songs, we still have our ceremonies. But Buffalo was missing for a period of time.
The practice of tribal religions and tribal ways of life are inseparable from the places in which they are practiced. And I think that's something that is not common for other mainstream religions and not well understood.
Beth Wright and Matthew Campbell are both with the Native American Rights Fund, an organization that fights to protect, quote, Native American rights, resources, and lifeways through legal assistance. A big part of their job is protecting practices and lands sacred to Native Americans. Several battles are happening right now to protect or acquire sacred areas like Bears Ears in Utah and Oak Flat in Arizona. Wright and Campbell are both in Denver right now testifying about the importance of letting graduating Native students wear eagle feathers and other regalia.
We actually get calls every year around this time near graduation from students that are denied the right to wear their regalia. There are ceremonies done around the items before they're given to the students or our youth. And so they're really imbued with the prayers of their families, their communities.
What's important is that that really is a foundation for tribal identity, and without the ability to have those practices and pass those on, you really sort of lose this tribal identity that's wrapped up in the landscape.
Could have never imagined it looking like this, so we just keep building from the momentum. I figure I got a few more decades in me. We'll see what we can continue to do.
Through the lens of Western religion, sacred land is the church building, animals and plant life, the sacraments. For the people who practice, they say these fights to protect Native religion and land is about identity and a connection that has sustained tribes through modern atrocities. From those outside the tribes, they ask for understanding of this.
Buffalo is a way for us to find our foundation, our grounding. Something happens with Native people when they get around buffalo. It's a spark, it's genetic memory, it's a great mystery.
Vanessa Mashanya, Scripps News, Wind River Indian Reservation.
Vanessa, thank you for that report. At-home diagnostic testing is expanding for a number of women's health issues. The impact doctors say this could have to help validate women's concerns.
And this week marks the start of the second half of a 60-day legislative session. Coming up here on Fox 4 News at 5 o'clock, a look at what's to come in Tallahassee. Katie?
We're still tracking some very heavy rainfall here in southwestern Collier County, specifically from Marco Island back through Goodland as well as 10,000 Islands. We'll talk more about when more of us will be seeing some much needed wet weather.
Still ahead, 4 people are dead, 9 others hurt after a shooting inside a Louisville bank. What police know so far about that suspect.
Live from Southwest Florida, you're watching Fox 4 News at 5.
Thank you so much for staying with us for Fox 4 News at 5 o'clock. I'm Elise Chingari. So being pregnant for more than 6 weeks could soon mean you can't get an abortion here in our state of Florida. And those against that move spent the day making their voices heard by taking their concerns to a local bill sponsor. Our Fox 4 anchor Shari Armstrong joins us live outside of the old courthouse as protesters say they want a representative to hear them out. Right, Shari?
Nadine, that's exactly right. I'm actually standing at the intersection of Monroe and Main Street here in downtown Fort Myers. I want to give you a look at what we're seeing right now. We are seeing about 50 people between where we're standing and at the courthouse. People just coming out and saying they actually want to hear from Representative Jenna Parsons-Mullica. Now, let me walk you through what we're actually talking about here. Representative Mullica was a sponsor of one of the versions of the bill. Now, what you're seeing here today, and of course we're talking about this abortion bill that would change that abortion ban from 16 weeks to, from 16 weeks to 5 weeks. So let me actually show you what this looked like a little earlier today because it was a little quieter of a scene. I've been out here since noon. Take a look. So a week ago, the Florida Senate approved a bill that would change the abortion access ban in the state of Florida from 15 weeks to 6 weeks. I want to show you what we are seeing here today. Fox 4 has been out here since about 10 o'clock in the morning. Representative Jenna Parsons-Mullica sponsored a version of the bill. She's a representative from Fort Myers, and her district office is right here. That's why organizers say they're here outside of this area because it's a normal day in downtown Fort Myers, but on the steps of the old courthouse, people have gathered throughout the day. We have seen people come and go, sit for a little bit, share their own experiences, their own stories or stories of people that they love.
These are rights that our mothers had and then lost. And it just is crazy that our daughters would be subject to fewer rights than we had as women.
They tell me they want Mullica and other state leaders to reconsider a 6-week ban on abortion. They also tell me they want to talk to her. We reached out to her today to get a statement or even try to talk to her ourselves. We were not able to do that, but I want to make sure you see what we've been seeing all day right outside of the old county courthouse. So back here and live, you can see that crowd has grown here. We're seeing about 50 people out here today. And literally, there's a sense of camaraderie out here. Of course, you see people with their signs, but we did talk to a lot of people who were just sitting on the courthouse, basically saying that, listen, they know that this bill is now in the House, on the House floor. We're expecting to see a vote on Thursday. But they're saying they do want to hear from the representative. They really just want, they say, for their voices to be heard. Now, to be clear, again, we did reach out to Representative Mullica. We have not heard back from her. We've been reaching out to their office since Friday, but coming up at 6 o'clock, we are expecting an open mic to take place right here. We'll bring that to you live here on Fox 4 News. For now, live in downtown Fort Myers, Shari Armstrong, Fox 4.
We've reached the midway mark of this year's legislative session. After a short break, lawmakers are back this week and expected to keep passing bills that could include that 6-week abortion ban. So limits on insurer lawsuits, universal vouchers for private schooling, a massive workforce housing bill, plus permitless concealed carry. All of those big talkers of the first half of this year's session, getting the governor's signature and are now set to take effect. The latter half will likely bring more controversy. So the GOP supermajority is expected to pass a 6-week abortion ban, immigration reform targeting those knowingly hiring undocumented, removing unanimous jury consent for the death penalty, and expanding restrictions on teaching sexual orientation and gender identity through 8th grade.
This has been the fastest session that I've ever witnessed in all my years of following politics, and that's a long time.
Another policy we'll want to keep an eye out for, a new Disney bill. Last week, Governor Ron DeSantis said lawmakers will be looking at levying new taxes and tolls on Disney's special districts. So we will keep our eye on that. So 4 people are dead and 9 others injured after 23-year-old Connor Sturgeon opened fire at a bank in Louisville, Kentucky this morning. Sturgeon, who worked at the bank, live streamed the shooting. As Nate Foy reports, authorities are working to piece together what happened today.
Another community grappling with immense loss in the wake of another deadly shooting.
Let's be clear about what this was. This was an evil act of targeted violence.
Police in Kentucky say a lone gunman opened fire inside a downtown Louisville branch of the Old National Bank at about 8:30 Monday morning. First responders arrived on scene within 3 minutes. As they approached, gunshots were still being fired. Officers exchanged gunfire with the suspect, who died during the incident.
The suspect shot at officers. We then returned fire and stopped that threat.
Witnesses report a man walked into the bank and started shooting. Multiple people were killed and several others wounded, including 2 police officers. But officials say the quick response by law enforcement helped prevent even more loss of life.
It is clear from the officers' response that they absolutely saved people's lives. This is a tragic event, but it was the heroic response of officers that made sure that no more people were more seriously injured than what happened.
Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear rushing to the scene, asking for prayers for the victims, including some that he knew personally.
We lost 4 children of God today, one of whom was one of my closest friends.
Agents from the FBI and ATF are assisting local officials with this ongoing investigation. In New York, Nate Foy, Fox News.
Nate, thank you. So Florida Highway Patrol is searching for a driver after a crash on this morning in Cape Coral. Troopers say around 1 a.m. they tried to stop a reckless driver who hit a light pole near the corner of Del Prado Boulevard and Veterans Memorial Parkway. Troopers say the driver, the person, ran away on foot and left their car behind. Also, 2 FEMA disaster recovery centers here in Southwest Florida, well, they're closing this week. The DRCs at the Port Charlotte Town Center and at Beach Baptist Church there on Fort Myers Beach will both close this Thursday. If you still need help, you can stop by from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. all the way up till Thursday. The DRC at the Tringali Park Recreation Center in Inglewood will stay open. Now over to Marco Island. The park there is closed there until Friday while crews work to remove a fuel line damaged by Hurricane Ian. This closure comes nearly 1 month after the park reopened for the first time since the hurricane. The park will reopen on Saturday at 8 a.m. Michelle.
Genetic testing is getting more accessible. Elizabeth Ruiz shows us how its role in healthcare is expanding.
It's possible you've done some genetic testing to find out where your ancestors are from, but our DNA can also tell us what diseases run in our genes. That science is now being used in preventative health care.
I was in a foster home for a few months.
When we go to the doctor, we're asked to share our family's medical history, but Emma Pedersen has never known hers.
I was born in Busan, South Korea, and I was eventually adopted to my family here in Minnesota. And through that adoption process, closed adoptions were more common at the time. So I don't have hardly any information about my birth parents. And because of that, I also don't have any family health history.
Last year, Pedersen found out she could take a DNA test that would search for markers of genetic diseases.
Once I got my results, I was really relieved to find that I didn't test at a higher risk for any of the genetic markers.
Now, if Pedersen did have any of the markers, Leslie Dawkin with healthcare company Health Partners says she'd be able to start preventative care.
My sister-in-law had a genetic test early on and was told she had the BRCA1 gene and that she was at higher risk for breast cancer. So she followed very closely with her physicians, and they watched some changes in her breast tissue and other things, and then she took preemptive steps and actually had a mastectomy before she developed her cancer.
Health Partners is part of a network of hospitals using saliva and blood samples to help people identify what they could be at risk for.
We look for BRCA1 or BRCA2, so breast cancer risk. We look for colorectal cancer risk, and then anyone with a significantly elevated cholesterol, which drives to early risk for cardiac disease.
They've partnered with Helix, a population genomics company that works with healthcare systems all over the United States.
About 8 or 9 out of every 10 people walking around have a risk for one of these conditions and don't know about it because our medical guidelines are just not catching all the people.
Helix Vice President of Medical Affairs Alyssa Levin says the most exciting aspect about DNA is that it never changes.
We can actually collect a person's sample once. We can sequence or read that information and securely store it, like we're locking it in a safe vault.
So as science evolves and we can test for more diseases, Levin says that information will already be accessible. Dawkins says it's also made it more affordable.
Every time I have a new question, I can just query the data. I can just look into a database and find an answer. That is very inexpensive compared to running another $3,000 test, another $5,000 test, another $10,000 test, because previously we didn't have a way to store that data and store it easily.
With more than 75,000 genetic tests on the market, Johns Hopkins Medicine says the expansion of DNA tests and improvement of technology has made testing cheaper. But right now, Health Partners in Helix is offering the test for free if people agree to participate in research.
Our goal is that we're building enough of a body of research to show how important genetics is to early identification, to being able to help prevent these diseases or catch them early in stage 1, that more and more people will join into this effort.
Dawkins says we're at a turning point where our genetics can tell us which drug therapies will work for us and which medications will give us side effects. That's why she says it's important for people of all populations to participate in genetic testing. She says people of color are underrepresented in genetic databases across the country.
There's been a lot of historical trauma in the research field, and so there are people who are very hesitant to participate, but by participating and becoming, knowing your own risk, right, to support your family and your own health, but you also are helping make sure that the new drugs and the new therapies are there and will actually work for everyone in all kinds of different backgrounds and races coming forward.
Elizabeth Ruiz, Scripps News, Minneapolis.
All right, Elizabeth, thank you for that report. Well, weeks after 2 banks failed, the head of the nation's largest bank is cautioning the industry will take some time to recover. What this may mean for all of us. Turning now to the news feed, the EPA is expected to tighten restrictions on emissions standards soon. The proposed rule changes, if implemented, would require 2/3 of all new cars sold in the U.S. to be electric by 2032. A growing number of states are considering bans on cosmetics and other products that contain PFAS. The products include shampoo, makeup, and deodorant. The EPA says studies have linked PFAS to cancer risk, developmental delays in children, and damaged organs. Today, the stock market responded to a bleak warning from Tupperware. In a regulatory filing, the container maker says there's substantial doubt about the company's ability to stay afloat. It says it currently doesn't have enough cash to pay for its operations, and it's looking at possible layoffs. Detecting everything from the risk for cancer to cardiac disease earlier.
About 8 or 9 out of every 10 people walking around have a risk for one of these conditions and don't know about it because our medical guidelines are just not catching all the people.
The role genetic testing is playing to change this.
And still ahead tonight, Florida lawmakers are considering some of the most conservative immigration reforms in the country. Coming up here on Fox 4 News at 6 o'clock, Fox 4 Investigates is taking you through the proposals that would, among other things, bring felony charges to anyone who hires an undocumented immigrant. Why the legislation is expected to easily pass, but the bills might not be exactly what Governor Ron DeSantis is looking for. Katie?
And some of us dealing with wet weather this evening, especially from Marco Island, but that thunderstorm is inching its way northward toward Naples. We'll take a closer look coming up.
So right now we want to give you a heads up. So Cape Coral City crews are currently working to repair a water main break at Cape Harbor Drive. So water service went off around 9 o'clock this morning and should be back on within the hour or so until those repairs are complete. Customers impacted are shaded in that red area on the map there that you see there on your screen. Once water is back on, the city advises anyone impacted to, of course, boil your water for at least 1 minute or use bottled water as a precaution until the advisory is lifted. Katie?
And turning to our weather now across Southwest Florida, we start with a live look from beautiful Tarpon Lodge. And there you go. That is just going to be a picture-perfect sunset here in short order. And while conditions are nice and quiet here in Lee County, not the case, though, for our friends down on Marco. So we are keeping a close eye on a heavy downpour that has been nearly stationary for the last couple of hours, producing several inches of rainfall and leading to a flood advisory that is in effect until 8 o'clock. Basically, such high amounts of rainfall leading to some ponding on the roadways, but at least now we're starting to see that bullseye lift off toward your north. So kind of drifting up toward Lely as well as Naples. If this continues to work its way slowly northward, that could produce some heavy rainfall there right along 41. So I want to give you a heads up there for southwestern Collier County. Otherwise, for most of us, conditions are fairly quiet. We do have those showers and thunderstorms that are situated offshore, continuing to work their way offshore. And then we also have some showers here drifting off of the lake from Moorhaven down to Clewiston. Also, a couple of those showers stretching back toward LaBelle. So right along 80, also right along 27, seeing some of those areas of light to moderate rainfall. So helping you plan out your evening. Breezy conditions are expected through 6 o'clock. Then we'll gradually see those winds taper. That said, still expecting some gusts tonight, 18 to 20 miles per hour. We'll have scattered evening showers and storms through 10 o'clock, but by 11, things quieting down nicely on radar. We certainly could use the rainfall, even though it might not be timely for so many of us that still have roof damage. We do still need that rain. We do have severe to extreme drought conditions here across Southwest Florida, some of the driest parts of not just the state, but the eastern seaboard, the eastern third of some of those drought conditions. So for the next couple of hours right here at 9:30, we'll continue to see the potential for those scattered downpours here, especially across Lee into Charlotte counties. And then by 11:30, things are quieting down. Winds will continue out of the northeast, at times gusting to 20 miles per hour through the day tomorrow as well. But on the plus side, those breezy conditions will prevent any fog from developing for your Tuesday morning. Tuesday at this point looks to be pretty quiet. We'll keep an isolated shower chance in the mix, but otherwise really just expecting a mostly cloudy sky for the afternoon. Better rain chances arriving Wednesday heading into Thursday. So a closer look at that for your Wednesday afternoon. Scattered downpours on the horizon, and especially for our northern counties stretching up toward central Florida. That's where the best probability is. And at this point, it looks like Thursday will be the wettest day in that 7-day forecast. So for tonight, showers early, concluding by around 11. Temperatures right around 66 overnight in Fort Myers and Cape Coral, 65 for Punta Gorda, 68 degrees or so for Naples early tomorrow morning. Heading into the afternoon, that cloud cover will help prevent temperatures from climbing into the 90s. So instead of hitting low to mid 90s like this time last week, we'll see those high temperatures tomorrow closer to normal in the lower 80s. But note those winds out of the east and northeast around 20 miles per hour, low 80s on target across the board. And through most of this week, take a look at this. Scattered afternoon evening storms forecast for your Wednesday, and then look, the scattered storms continue Thursday into Friday.
Divided government often makes it hard to get legislation passed. Tomorrow, how one state just came together on Medicaid, and they believe this could be a roadmap for others.
For generations, we've been sold this idea that the American dream involves a picket fence and a house, but new data shows those homes are harder to come by. The experts we spoke with say it's because corporate buyers are taking them off the market before average home buyers can get to them.
A coffee shop felt like a good place to conduct an interview of this magnitude, because the information you're about to get over the next few minutes might need some help digesting.
There's billions of dollars, trillions of dollars just sloshing around in the economy looking for places to go. What are we going to invest in? Real estate's a really, really good investment.
Mike Delprete is a global real estate tech strategist and a scholar at the University of Colorado Boulder. He says there's been a rise in companies buying single-family homes to rent.
How big and significant is this issue?
It depends how you look at it. It is definitely an issue worth paying attention to.
According to Pew Charitable Trusts, a nonpartisan and non-ideological research organization based in Philadelphia, investors bought nearly a quarter of single-family homes purchased in 2021. Since 2012, that number has been between 15 and 16%, making 2021 the fastest year-over-year increase in 16 years. Last year, in 2022, that number was even higher.
The roots of the industry kind of came from the foreclosure crisis in 2000, 2008.
Jordan Ash is the housing campaign and research director with the Private Equity Stakeholder Project. He points out what these investors are doing is not illegal. He says it's good business. He also agrees it affects the number of available homes for everyday people to purchase. According to CoreLogic, a data firm that analyzes financial and property information, only 15% of homes purchased by investors in March of 2022 were resold within the following 6 months.
It's a bipartisan issue in terms of the concern that both Democrats and Republicans have expressed concern about it, is because it really is directly impacting people's ability to achieve the American dream. That people are being shut out.
It's worth showing how these investors are splitting this pie. The CoreLogic data shows of the 26% of homes that were purchased by investors in the third quarter of last year, 49% were small mom and pop investors, 33% were medium-sized investors, 8% were large investors, and 11% were mega investors who own more than 1,000 properties.
At its very base, it's going to make it more difficult for buyers to buy homes because, for people like you and I, if we're looking to buy a home in Atlanta or Phoenix or any of these markets, we're competing against institutional buyers. They are, by definition, cash buyers. They don't have mortgages, they don't have contingencies, they've got briefcases full of cash ready to go. And their job, like the people you're bidding against, their job is to buy houses. So who do you think is going to win that bidding war? It's going to keep going back to the institutional investors.
We went to the National Rental Home Council, a trade group representing many of these mega investors, for comment. They told us that these mega investors own less than a third of 1% of all the housing in the country. However small, Ash is still wary of how much of an impact these mega investors may really have.
There are entire communities that are now, kind of being shut out, where these corporate landlords are basically extracting the money that would have been, from individual families being able to build equity.
In late October, 3 Democratic House members from California introduced the Stop Wall Street Landlords Act. The bill would deny certain tax benefits to investors whose assets exceed $100 million a year. State legislators in Ohio, North Carolina, Georgia, and Arizona have also introduced their own bills since December that would limit the amount of homes investment companies could purchase.
This is very nuanced. Institutional investors, on the other side, they're a backstop to the entire housing market. When people can't afford to buy and sell houses, they're there. They're buying. That is important.
It's a lot to take in, with many sides who don't all agree on the degree of impact. Hopefully the coffee allowed you to digest it with a bit more context, clarity, and understanding. Dan Grossman, Scripps News, Denver.
All right, Dan, thank you for that report. Well, that's going to do it for us today. I'm Michelle London. Fox 4 News at 6 is next.
It's made me a little uneasy.
Uneasy and nervous. That's how some people in a Fort Myers neighborhood say they felt as someone barricaded themselves inside and started shooting. Tonight, we have a better idea of what happened inside the home.
Plus, never before seen video and testimony in a high-profile murder case. We'll tell you what Wisner Desmarais asked witnesses today as he began his own defense.
And state lawmakers are set to pass one of the strictest immigration bills in the nation. Tonight, Fox 4 Investigates looks at the bill to see what's inside and why some Republicans say it's not enough.
Live from Southwest Florida, you're watching Fox 4 News at 6.
Thank you for joining us on this Monday night for Fox 4 News at 6. I'm Chris Earl.
And I'm Elise Chingari. Thanks for joining us on this Monday evening. So tonight we have new information about this man, 34-year-old Christopher Campbell. So he's accused of shooting 15 to 20 shots at his girlfriend on Friday at a home on Kent Avenue near Cleveland and Daniels. She was not hit. Also, some houses were riddled with bullets as well.
Gunfire also hitting garages. Bullets also grazing a fence next door to where Campbell had barricaded himself. But tonight, Campbell is out of jail on bond. And tonight, we're also getting a look from inside of the home as well. The Lee County Sheriff's Office says that Campbell destroyed by using paint and bullets. Fox 4's Caitlin Knapp live in studio with how all of this started. Caitlin.
Well, the sheriff's office got a domestic violence call Friday afternoon where shots had been fired. Those shots hitting homes, forcing neighbors to hide. Those neighbors tell me they were shocked by what happened in a matter of seconds.
I didn't even know gunshot could be that loud.
A neighbor who didn't feel comfortable going on camera was comfortable talking about the loud sounds that rang out Friday in her Fort Myers neighborhood.
Each time I probably heard like 10 or 15. I mean, a lot. I thought, well, maybe they're doing some construction. It was kind of scary.
Those sounds, Sheriff Carmine Marcino said, came from a gun fired by this man, 34-year-old Christopher Campbell. Video and photos released from the Lee County Sheriff's Office showed bullet holes, ammunition cans on the floor, and several guns around the house.
I went inside the residence. He shot every place inside that residence. There was paint all over the floor. There were shots fired everywhere.
Campbell's accused of shooting at his girlfriend as she ran out of the home. But deputies say those bullets also hit houses nearby, including this garage across the street and a fence next door.
It's made me a little uneasy.
A feeling neighbors are left trying to shake days after the shooting.
I've been a little nervous.
Now, despite putting the public in danger, as the sheriff said, Campbell is out of the Lee County jail. He posted bond the day after the shooting. I looked up his record here in Lee County, and he has no serious charges other than traffic tickets and discharging a firearm in public back in 2008, though we don't know what came of that case. He's expected to appear back in court in May, but he does have a no contact order in place with the victims. Live in studio, Caitlin Knapp, Fox 4.
Thank you, Caitlin. Cape Coral Police gave parents a startling update today as investigators say a teacher at Diplomat Middle School, Joseph Reynolds, sent inappropriate pictures of himself to his students. Reynolds is in a Lee County jail tonight.
And investigators say this happened after he gave that student his personal cell phone number so they could communicate. Cape Coral Police say phone records indicate that the two parties texted back and forth.
But since Reynolds is not talking with investigators, Cape Coral Police say they are prepared to issue subpoenas to access more of those conversations.
It's still technically an open investigation just because that suspect didn't choose to speak to us. So we have to continue to, through evidence, based on phone records, all different stuff like that, we're going to continue to subpoena those.
Detectives say the Lee County School District and student resource officers will keep offering appropriate support and assistance to the student involved in this.
Now on to a case that we here at Fox 4 have been following for years. The man prosecutors say killed a Fort Myers police officer back in 2018 gave his own opening statement today.
Representing himself, Wisner Desmarais did not deny shooting Fort Myers police officer Adam Jobbers Miller.
I wasn't supposed to be somebody to live that night to be able to tell what really happened and what's shown on the camera.
So that 33-year-old you see there could face the death penalty. Talking there about footage prosecutors say shows the moments leading up to him shooting Officer Jobbers Miller.
And this is part of body camera video that Fox 4's Brianna Brownlee tells us live from the Lee County Courthouse as it played out after those opening statements ended. Bree.
Yes, on the same day as opening statements, multiple witnesses said that Desmarais not only shot Officer Adam Jobbers Miller, but they said he also pointed a gun at two different officers and threatened multiple officers.
Stay with me, buddy. Stay with me.
Fort Myers Police Lieutenant Peter Tarman begging for 29-year-old officer Adam Jobbers Miller to stay with him. Moments after, prosecutors say Wisner Desmarais shot the young officer in the head with his own gun after chasing Desmarais.
What's happening here?
Prosecutors say the beginning of the video showed Desmarais lying on the wet ground, refusing to get up after the officer asked him to.
When I'm going to shoot you, you can look the whole time you're getting up from the floor, but you don't have to be on the wet floor.
The officers trying to get Desmarais up, but he kept saying he feared for his life, and the officers were trying to kill him.
Everything that happened on this evening began with Mr. Desmarais accosting 3 young men and asking where their gun was.
During opening statements, Assistant State Attorney Andres Gardner said the shooting all started with a fight the state played video of between Desmarais and 3 men, including Roderick Nance.
Why was y'all following me? I don't know.
Nance testified Desmarais attacked his group because he thought they were following him. Playing parts of the video, the state says it shows how the men did not know Desmarais.
That one y'all called? No. I seen a white car over there.
Desmarais, who's acting as his own lawyer, making statements instead of directly asking Nance questions.
And how that dude walked out the car and how he was talking and saying something to me, but I ain't know what he was saying because my back was turned.
Again, as we mentioned, Desmarais never denied shooting at Officer Adam Jobbers Miller, and however, when it got later in court, multiple witnesses did say that Desmarais claimed that he was proud that he shot the officer that night. Like always, we will keep you updated as we learn more. Live from Lee County Courthouse, Brianna Brownlee, Fox 4.
Those gunshots are what people heard in Louisville today as a suspect started firing at a downtown bank earlier today. Now, investigators are still searching for answers as to why and how a man was able to, as police say, be able to get into that bank and shot and kill 4 people.
Also, 8 people are injured as well, including 2 police officers. Here's what we know tonight. The shooting happened early this morning at Old National Bank. That's downtown Louisville, right across the street from the baseball stadium. It's unclear when exactly that started, but police say officers killed the shooter at 8:30 a.m. Police confirming to CNN the shooter did work at the bank. 2 of the wounded from the shooting are listed in critical condition.
Now, that gun violence archive says it's one of the over 146 mass shootings that have already happened this year. Coming up on Fox 4 News at 6:30, we're going to have more reaction from Kentucky officials as well as more context behind this shooting.
Bonita Springs Fire is giving us a look at the destruction after that series of wildfires that burned all throughout the weekend.
Exactly. Fire officials shared this video that we're about to show you on social media of what remains of that fire. Now, Bonita Fire says the wildfires burned a home, some additional structures, and as you can see, a lot of vegetation throughout the area. Now, crews also say multiple vehicles and other types of property were also badly damaged from that wildfire. Crews say the good news is that the flames have died down, but those high winds, well, they're agitating those embers, so they're still keeping an eye on the area tonight.
And this is also the general spot where the fires are burning over the weekend, as the fire crews are still putting out some of the troublesome embers. As we're taking a look right now at mile marker 116 along I-75, that is the Bonita Beach exit. So they do want people who are living near Kent Road and Jefferson to stay away from the fire. The roads are not on lockdown. This is to access the road for emergency vehicles, so do keep that road open. Happening now in Fort Myers, a group of women is rallying against some of the new bills working through the State House in Tallahassee right now.
Right, the Lee County chapter of the National Organization for Women is putting on this event. It's happening downtown Fort Myers, but started outside of the office of Jenna Persons Mullica. Now, this is the Fort Myers House Republican and the sponsor of the 6-week abortion ban proposal. Now, that's where we find Fox 4's Shari Armstrong. She's there tonight.
And Shari, this protest isn't just starting as people have been there since 10 a.m.
That is why it's called the 10-hour protest. Good evening, Elise and Chris. We are live in downtown Fort Myers. And yes, people have been here since 10 a.m. We have seen people come and go, literally sitting on the steps of the courthouse all day, conversing about the latest when it comes to a potential abortion ban in Florida. Now, Florida already banned abortions after 15 weeks of pregnancy, but Republicans in the state Senate and House of Representatives both filed bills last month with tighter restrictions. It passed the Senate 26-13, and we're monitoring the House's vote this week. Exceptions for abortion in the bill include rape, incest, or human trafficking. Now, what you're seeing here is the open mic part of this protest. So again, we've been seeing people out here all day, but this is the first time where we've actually had people coming out sharing stories publicly, loudly, for other supporters who stand behind what everyone else here is out here for, which is to see. They're essentially asking to see and have a meeting with Representative Jenna Parsons-Mullica, who is one of the co-sponsors of one of the versions of the bills out here. Our Scripps team actually spoke with Mullica. Here's a little bit of what she had to say.
The voters in the state of Florida have sent to the legislature majorities in both chambers that are pro-life majorities.
So as you can see here, there are more and more people that are coming out. Earlier when we visited you guys, we saw about 50 people at the intersection over here at Monroe, but we are literally seeing more and more people come out showing their support for this organization, which is the Women's March of Fort Myers. And they're essentially saying they want to sit down with the representative and ask her to consider their perspectives as well. Of course, the representative being very clear about where she stands when it comes to that 6-week ban. This is the message that they've really been sharing. Kevin, if we can show them essentially saying messages like shame on you and asking for a meeting with the representative. For now, we're sending it back to you guys live in downtown Fort Myers. Shari Armstrong, Fox 4.
Thank you for that live update. Of course, major eyes on the next big bill coming out of Tallahassee.
And this one impacts immigration. So coming up, Fox 4 investigates the new bills and how they could make Florida's immigration laws some of the most strict in the nation. Plus,
as the climate continues to warm, we're likely going to see continued increases and expansions in these pollen season.
And still ahead, why a new report says Florida's allergy season will be lasting a bit longer for 2023.
And turning to our weather across southwest Florida, heavy storms right now across southwestern Collier County. We'll take a closer look at where this storm is drifting and why we're expecting more to arrive this week.
So new tonight, 2 disaster recovery centers that opened after Hurricane Ian will close permanently this week.
And one of them in Port Charlotte, the other at Fort Myers Beach. FEMA says locations at the Cultural Center in Port Charlotte and also at Beach Baptist Church and Fort Myers Beach on Estero Boulevard will both close Thursday. FEMA says these centers will still offer aid and also answer any questions from now through 6 p.m. on Thursday.
And tonight we want to give you a reminder. So those insurance villages that came through right after Hurricane Ian will be back next week. The insurance village will in Punta Gorda on the 17th and 19th, and in Fort Myers on the 18th. Representatives with the National Flood Insurance Program and more than a dozen insurers will be there on site to help you out. So tonight we have a question for you, our viewers. Are you allergic to pollen, dust, or mold? Because we have some unfortunate news for you this evening.
A new study out reports that Florida allergy seasons may be lasting longer in the future, as experts say we could see an abnormally long season for this year.
Stacey Almas from our Scripps partner station over in Tampa. WFTS has those details for you tonight.
As the climate continues to warm, we're likely going to see continued increases and expansions in these pollen seasons.
It's one thing no allergy sufferer wants to hear. The season of sneezing is only getting longer.
Climate Central analyzed 203 U.S. cities, taking a look at the length of their freeze-free season. So basically the time in spring when you have your last freezing temperature and the time when you have your first freezing temperature in the fall. And that is expanding for most of us across the country on average by about 15 days.
The study by Climate Central looked at data from 1970 to 2022 and found less days of freezing temps allow plants more time to grow, flower, and release pollen.
What does that mean here in Florida? We don't even know what freezing means.
That's fair. You already in Florida have a pretty extensive allergy season and pollen season because you don't have freezing temperatures.
But the study did include Tallahassee and found we are not an outlier.
In Tallahassee, the freeze-free season lengthened 27 days, so nearly a month.
Florida's also a popular breeding ground for another allergen.
Mold year-round, the dampness, also dealing with higher precipitation rates, also because of climate change.
A look at the National Allergy Bureau website shows trees are causing the worst allergies in Tampa Bay right now, with mold and weeds at moderate levels.
We have a lot of problems also with indoor allergens, and especially, cockroaches, right? Because they're all over the place, along with house dust mite.
USF professor and allergist Thomas Casale says the best thing Floridians can do is keep humidity in their homes below 50%. Wash your hair after being outside for prolonged periods. Do outdoor exercise when pollen counts are lower, either early morning or late evening. And advice for the future:
we need to reduce our dependence on fossil fuels and curb any additional warming to our planet.
So those concerns about allergies, definitely the wind very brisk in many parts of Southwest Florida throughout this Monday, as you can see right there.
Exactly. And I know a lot of people, they're concerned about allergies because we were experiencing that red tide and people had questions. Is it the red tide or is it allergies? Trying to figure all of that out, Katie.
Well, thankfully, I was just actually checking in on the red tide numbers as well, and we are not seeing those harmful algae blooms, at least today, right now for the coastline of Southwest Florida. So if you are sniffling and sneezing, it's likely because of the allergens out there, specifically trees and weeds. Oak and bayberry very active right now. Also, the weeds are as well. So looking ahead to that pollen forecast tomorrow, rain chances staying pretty minimal. Just isolated rain. That means we can expect high pollen counts, but the higher the rain chances, there is a direct correlation. Higher the rain chances, the lower the pollen counts are expected. That rain really helps to suppress. So looking ahead to Wednesday, little bit of rain probability, so we'll drop that back into the orange for a moderate expectation for those pollen counts. And then as of right now, it looks like Thursday will be the day, at least the best of my 7-day forecast in terms of those allergy counts. So again, that does correlate directly with those rain chances this week. Tomorrow, just an isolated rain chance in the mix, kind of like today, very hit and miss, but where those storms set up, you might pick up a healthy 1 to 3 inches of rain. That cannot be ruled out. That's exactly what Marco Island's seeing right now. Looking ahead to your Wednesday, scattered showers and storms in the mix. Highest probability this week will be arriving on Thursday, and then it does look like we'll see the potential for those scattered showers and storms on Friday as well. So each and every day this week, keep that rain gear on hand just in case. But as for now, those showers and storms pretty isolated. Marco Island, though, still under that flood advisory until 8 o'clock because we did pick up several inches of rainfall earlier this afternoon. But now the worst of that storm is starting to clear off toward the north. Speaking of which, a closer look. So Laylee, here we go. Notice, though, the bullseye situated just offshore here, but that will be sneaking upward, heading up toward Naples, Laylee Resort, Laylee, even parts of Golden Gate could be clipped by that particular downpour. Farther inland, still have these light showers coming in off of Lake Okeechobee, now to the west of Moorhaven, and some of those showers working their way toward LaBelle. As for our drought index, we've actually seen a little bit of improvement. Still, though, we are in the orange, meaning critically dry for most counties here in Southwest Florida. The driest county, though, in the state in extreme drought, that continues to be Lee County. So, unfortunately, we could absolutely still use much more rainfall. Now, Punta Gorda, we have picked up over 2 inches since April 1st. So definitely seeing some improvements that direction. Fort Myers at the airport, we've picked up 3/4 of an inch in the rain gauge. Naples, however, at the airport has only picked up around 500s. But like we just saw down in Naples, pretty heavy rain. It just depends on where those storms set up shop. Looking ahead to the overnight time frame, breezy conditions are expected. Heading into tomorrow, those showers overall will stay pretty isolated, but again, it will stay breezy at times. Gust expected upwards of 20 miles per hour, even 25 miles per hour into the afternoon. Looking ahead to your Wednesday, showers and storms on tap for your afternoon, but also notice those temperatures staying in the lower 80s, closer to where they should be through Thursday before heading into the upper 80s by Friday.
Katie, thank you so much. So right now, a group of women are meeting in downtown Fort Myers to protest newly passed abortion bills.
And they've also been there since 10 a.m. As we saw earlier from Fox 4's Shari Armstrong. Coming back, we're going to go back to hear the next part of this for why they want to see what's done as this bill heads off to Governor Ron DeSantis' desk.
Plus, an iconic part of Cape Coral will be covered up starting tomorrow. We'll tell you what's being done to the Iwo Jima Memorial along Veterans Boulevard after the break.
Repairs on a water main in the Cape Harbor neighborhood of Cape Coral are still getting finished up.
The city told us that at noon, the water service should be complete in about an hour or so from now, but the main break happened there near the Marina Villas at Cape Harbor. The city tells us people who live in this area should boil their water until a precautionary boil water notice is lifted. So if you take a look at your screen here, you can see the map that Cape Coral says. It shows you that affected area throughout the red area there. Now, if you live in Cape Coral, they say to boil your water before consuming it.
Starting tomorrow in Cape Coral, your view of this memorial along Veterans Parkway will be obstructed. That says work crews are helping on the outside, some cosmetic work on the Iwo Jima Memorial. The city says the work was last done back in 2011 to refurbish. This was dedicated back in 1964 to mark the key U.S. victory in the Pacific. The city says all the work being done on the 20-foot memorial is to ensure it stays in good shape for future generations. Proposed immigration bills in Tallahassee may be some of the most strict in the U.S. if passed.
But some lawmakers say they aren't strict enough. After the break, Fox 4 investigates, digs into the documents to find out what makes these bills so strict and why some lawmakers are calling for more.
Plus, Naples police say a man broke into the police station and walked out with department gear, including camouflage, and then went to go hide in the bushes. But they still caught him anyway. More after the break.
One of the strictest immigration bills in the nation could be a law here in our state of Florida soon.
We'll see how that all plays out.
Fox 4 Investigates is telling you what changes if these bills get signed by Governor Ron DeSantis.
And a demonstration happening right now in Southwest Florida against a newly passed ban on abortions after 6 weeks. Tonight, we're live to hear from protesters.
Live from Southwest Florida, you're watching Fox 4 News at 6.
We're now at the halfway mark for the state legislature for 2023. In the coming weeks, also expecting the Republican-dominated House and Senate to push through one of the most conservative immigration reform packages in the U.S. Thanks for keeping it here on Fox 4 at 6:30. I'm Chris Earl.
And I'm Elise Chingari. Now, those bills would make it a felony to hire an undocumented immigrant and make hospitals question a patient's immigration status. Our Ryan Kruger joins us live with details. And Ryan, these immigration bills, well, they're expected to pass.
Yeah, that's right. Pass pretty easily because Republicans hold a supermajority in both chambers. Now, while Governor DeSantis is pushing for big changes to those in his own party, some of them are saying those reforms may not be quite as big as the governor is hoping for.
Saying he's fighting back against what he calls President Biden's open borders agenda, Governor Ron DeSantis is pushing through the legislature what some critics say is one of the most conservative immigration reform packages in the country.
We need to do everything in our power to protect the people of Florida from what's going on at the border.
That was DeSantis 6 weeks ago when he first introduced the ideas of immigration reforms. Under his proposals, anyone who hires, transports, or shelters an undocumented immigrant could face felony charges. Any out-of-state driver's license issued to an undocumented immigrant would be invalidated in the Sunshine State. But Republican House Speaker Paul Renner says it's not exactly clear what is going to eventually pass the legislature.
What form that takes, will it be exactly word for word what he said in his press conference? You know, we'll see how that all plays out.
Democrats have little recourse to fight back, but they've already come out against many of the proposals, including the budget proposals that would give more money to allow the DeSantis administration to fly undocumented immigrants to so-called sanctuary states like what happened last year.
There are a lot of better uses of this taxpayer money that could be had specifically for people who are recovering from the various hurricanes that we have, instead of going out of state to hunt immigrants down.
So it's hard to know exactly how big the problem of undocumented immigrants is. Now, on the one hand, neither the state nor the federal government keep any kind of hard data on the number of undocumented immigrants coming into Florida. That said, Florida has more cases pending right now in immigration courts than any other state in the country by far. Ryan Kruger, Fox 4.
Thank you for the update, Ryan. For hours, one group in Southwest Florida has been gathering on the steps of downtown Fort Myers Old Courthouse.
So they're protesting a bill that could pass the Florida's House this week and head to the governor's desk, taking the step one step closer to a 6-week abortion ban. Our Fox 4 Shari Armstrong's live in downtown Fort Myers. And Shari, you've been there since noon, and you've seen that crowd grow there throughout the day.
Elise, that's exactly right. I want to show you what it looks like right now behind me. You know, sometimes when you say protest, people tend to think one thing, but really what we're seeing here is a peaceful demonstration. We've seen people come sit on the courthouse steps for hours and then they get up and leave. They're sharing stories, personal stories, opinions, perspectives. And yes, as you said, Elise, what they're looking to accomplish here, as I spoke to representatives today, is you'll notice they're right outside of the Old County Courthouse, and they say they want to speak with Representative Jenna Parsons-Mullica. They say they just want to share their perspective with her, as she was one of the sponsors of one of the versions of this bill. I did a little background research for you today. Take a look. Looking through the bill, a major change that, if passed, changes how long you can have access to abortion services in the state of Florida. The state Senate has voted to change the current ban from 15 to 6 weeks, and now we're waiting to see how the House votes. I read through the bill today. A couple notes here. There are exceptions to the ban. They include rape, incest, and human trafficking. But this is interesting too, as a lot of the conversation around abortion today centers around services. We found the bill does outline services from the state's partnership with the Florida Pregnancy Care Network. Those include pregnancy testing, counseling, and pregnancy education. But women can only get those services while pregnant. They lose access to them once the child is born. We asked Nicole Shanks, Executive Director of the Pregnancy Resource Center of Southwest Florida, about this.
After a woman gives birth, they need more support then, more than almost any time in their life.
So as you can see here, again, people are still gathered, and this is the open mic portion of this protest or demonstration where, again, people are sharing and they are asking for people in the community to come out and join them. They will be here till 8 o'clock. We've been covering this since 10 o'clock in the morning. Now, this is made possible by the Now Group and the Women's March of Fort Myers. We are expecting to see this crowd kind of dwindle out. However, they do say if you're getting off work and you want to come down, they're looking to hear your story as well. Live in downtown Fort Myers, Shari Armstrong, Fox 4.
Thank you, Shari. Well, we wanted to make you aware of a story over in Naples. So Naples police say on Friday a man broke into the police department there and stole a police uniform and some other gear.
Joseph Moulton is now charged with 2 counts of burglary and grand theft. Security video showed Moulton trying to pull on one of the doors to get inside the police station and later also getting inside of a beach patrol vehicle. Also wearing green tactical pants, a Naples police uniform top, and a vest carrier. Hours later, police say Moulton tried to hide in the bushes near the Bayfront parking lot, but surrendered.
A life sentence given to the man convicted of shooting and killing a man in Immokalee more than 3 years ago. The state attorney's office said 41-year-old Gonzalo Herrera that you see here is sentenced to life in prison on his second-degree murder with a firearm conviction 2 months after his trial in Collier County. Investigators say in March of 2020, they found a 36-year-old man dead in a parking lot on Alexander Circle. Herrera was on the run for 5 months after the shooting before his August 2020 arrest. Well, still ahead here on Fox 4 tonight, drag shows are being targeted by some newly proposed laws and policies right now.
But organizers for an event celebrated across the nation today, saying that those laws could be targeting them. After the break, why Pride says it's worried about the bills and it could be a way to try to stop these celebrations.
And we have some heavy downpours right now, stretching from Marco Island to Lely Resort up to Naples. We're tracking where this shower is headed and where more will be developing as we head through this week.
Welcome back. So it's almost time to see the new and improved cultural park there in Cape Coral. So the city's actually inviting you to join them in celebrating its opening coming up next Friday. The park is located on Cultural Park Boulevard. So it'll have new sidewalks, a new playground, and other amenities. You can check out the city's Facebook page to find out more.
The JW Marriott on Marco Island says it's taking a portion of revenue after Hurricane Ian as well as Nicole from last year to help the area recover. The resort says it's generated $110,000 and has given that to the Collier Community Foundation, which will give the money to local groups for the greater good.
Meanwhile, a new bill working its way through the State House and Senate has the organizers of Tampa Pride on alert. It's called the Protection of Children Bill.
And this goes after groups who knowingly let kids into adult live performances. But as Rochelle Aline from our Scripps station in Tampa reports, Pride organizers are concerned that this could impact their celebration statewide.
Underneath the fanfare and fun of Tampa Pride is a deeper meaning.
This is an opportunity just to be who you are.
And the president of Tampa Pride tells me he's been on a mission to let people be for the last 10 years.
That's so important to find out that there's a whole world out there that really care about you, and you are normal.
But it's an environment that Kerry West tells me he now fears is in jeopardy because of a bill working its way through the state legislature. On its face, Senate Bill 1438, or the Protection of Children Bill, aims to keep someone from knowingly admitting a child to an adult live performance. Those who break the law face fines and jail time, and venues could possibly lose their license to serve drinks and food and provide lodging.
We already have those laws. Why keep adding laws to the books of Florida when we already have them?
But West tells me his biggest concern comes from the bill's definition of an adult live performance. It says the performance must simulate or depict nudity, sexual conduct, sexual excitement, specific sexual activities, or lewd conduct. But it goes on to say that performances that are shameful, of no serious value to the child, or that are patently offensive to prevailing standards in the adult community of the state can also fall into violation of that law. West feels that some of these definitions are vague and subjective, and because a drag show was used as an example of a violation in a recent legislative analysis of this bill, he worries that Tampa Pride events could be impacted if it passes. And he tells me he'd like lawmakers to focus on these issues instead.
I want the work to be done for insurance sakes, for food, for going through there and getting housing, and also working for the state to help us to make it a better state.
Now, that was Rochelle Lane from our Scripps partner station over in Tampa Bay reporting. If you want to see how Pride activists and advocates are reacting to this, you can head to fox4now.com for more coverage and how it may impact our community, including past stories about how Naples and Cape Coral Pride have been impacted by those changes this year.
So think back opening days of April. Think back a week ago. You had those highs pushing past those 90, 92,
Hot
93 degrees, relentless sun. Not quite that today.
Exactly. You could see those clouds coming through. But, you know, I mean, it's kind of a good thing. Of course, we don't always love that rain. It could, you know, mess up some of our plans, but we really need it here in Southwest Florida, Katie.
Exactly right. We do have severe to extreme drought conditions here across Southwest Florida. And here's another perspective now up to Lee County of some of those dark clouds from the Tarpon Lodge overlooking beautiful Pine Island Sound. And while I am expecting a pretty nice sunset, we are dealing with some of those breezy conditions out there that unfortunately exacerbating that fire danger for this evening. So look at some of these peak gusts today. Fort Myers registering a peak gust of 32 miles per hour, 36 miles per hour for Punta Gorda, 30 miles per hour for Lehigh Acres, and mid-20s there in Naples as well as Golden Gate. This will also be the case tomorrow as well, so we will continue to closely monitor that wildfire potential. On the flip side, cooler temperatures are certainly helping, plus we do have those showers in the mix, and tomorrow likewise we will have that opportunity. So instead of seeing temperatures this time last week, we were in the low to mid 90s. Well, look at this, mid to upper 70s for those of you venturing out to enjoy the sunset. 76 right now for Immokalee, 78 coming in for Bonita Springs as well as Fort Myers, 75 right now now for Punta Gorda. Ultimately, this afternoon, we registered a high of 87 in Fort Myers, still above that normal of 84, but at least closer to where we should be for this time of year. And by tomorrow, we will be seeing a pretty dramatic drop, and that's because I am anticipating more clouds and sunshine and higher rain chances here the next few days. Notice those lower 80s on tap Tuesday, Wednesday into Thursday. Then Friday into the weekend, those upper 80s will make a return. So that directly coincides with just how much rainfall I'm expecting. So tomorrow, cloudy, isolated showers, scattered rain for your Wednesday. As of right now, Thursday looks to be the wettest day in that 7-day forecast. Now, offshore, very wet conditions, but notice those showers and storms continue to move away from the coastline. Still, though, we head down toward southwestern Collier County, and we are still monitoring this heavy downpour that continues to shift again away from land. Still, though, producing some of those light to moderate rain showers from Naples back to Lely and Lely Resort down to Marco Island. Marco Island still under that flood advisory for now until 8 o'clock. And that's because we picked up several inches of rainfall earlier with that storm that basically just parked right over Marco Island earlier this afternoon. Heading up now farther inland, still tracking a couple of these rain showers, taking 78 westward, heading off toward LaBelle. So LaBelle, you're in a break for now, but it does look like more of that rainfall will be heading your way. Scattered evening storms coming to an end. Otherwise, expecting partly to mostly cloudy skies. Your temperatures will continue to run on the muggy side in the lower 70s. We'll start off tomorrow morning. The plus side, yes, it will be breezy, but at least that will prevent any fog from developing tomorrow morning. So I am expecting partly to mostly cloudy skies throughout the day. Breezy at times with those gusts upwards of 20 to 25 miles per hour. And there we go, the opportunity for isolated showers in the mix, those higher rain chances arriving Wednesday and especially on Thursday. And then over the weekend, we're right back to the upper 80s.
Today, I'm sharing my family's story of the heartbreak that comes with an Alzheimer's diagnosis. That's coming up in today's Your Healthy Family. More than 6 million people in our country have Alzheimer's disease. Odds are you know someone impacted by it. I didn't have to go far to find someone I love who's dealing with the disease. My grandma's husband of almost 10 years was diagnosed in 2020. And in today's Your Healthy Family, I'm sharing my family's story of the heartbreak that comes with that diagnosis.
This picture was taken in May of 2018 at my oldest granddaughter's wedding.
It's hard to imagine the person you've been in love with for over a decade slowly fading away.
We were very happy to be there and very happy enjoying a dance with each other.
And it's almost just as difficult.
Are you ready? I guess so.
To sit down and talk about it, even if it is with your granddaughter.
You know, a lot of this I'm even hearing for the first time because I remember you two had waited a while before.
Oh yeah, we
telling the
didn't tell anybody for a while. Well, we really didn't know. He was tested at the end of 2017.
But it wouldn't be until summer of 2020, my Mima, Terry Wilgus Nicely, would learn her husband Stanley had Alzheimer's.
You don't know anything till you live it.
She and Stanley got married in August of 2014. They were retired.
Oh, we were on the go all the time.
And loved to travel.
We went on several cruises every year and became snowbirds back to Indiana, where his hometown was, and spending time in Florida every winter with my family.
But during one of those summers in Stanley's hometown in Indiana,
we got ready to meet some friends at lunch at a town about 20 miles away. And as we were getting ready to go, he said, "Now how do we get there?" And I laughed because I said, "This is your home area. You know how to get there. We've been there before." And he said, "No, I'm not kidding. I really can't remember how to get there."
That's when she says her antennas started going up.
I mentioned it to the doctor at his regular checkup, and the doctor suggested that he see a neuropsychologist and have a baseline test. They do the test again in 2 years and see where things have gone.
After his initial test, my grandma started to notice even more changes in her husband.
When we were in groups, he just didn't really join in the conversation. I think he realized that he couldn't keep up, unable to remember names that he should remember. He could remember things way back, but the short-term memory was what was becoming a problem.
Then, in late summer of 2020, Stanley had another cognitive test done.
And they said there had been a significant decline.
That's when doctors told her Stanley had Alzheimer's. And in 2022, when he was tested again,
I said, "Is that what you would expect?" And the doctor said, "Actually, it's twice what I would expect."
Since that test, she said she noticed even more of the man she loves disappearing.
They call it the long goodbye for a reason.
And last fall, it came to the point where my grandma couldn't keep up with the demands of taking care of Stanley on her own, and with the support of my family and his, transitioned him into a home that specializes in caring for people with dementia.
Probably the hardest thing I've ever had to do, because it's someone that you love, and you want the best for them.
And what was best for him was that kind of care. Of course, she does get to visit him. Such a tough situation, though, and I truly admire my grandma's strength. Now, all this week, we are focusing on dementia. And in tomorrow's Your Healthy Family, the signs to look out for in someone you love. For Your Healthy Family, I'm Lisa Greenberg, and we have the information for the Alzheimer's Association's 24/7 helpline on fox4now.com/yourhealthyfamily.
And local coverage continues online, fox4now.com. When you go there, find new information tonight about Christopher Campbell, accused of shooting 15 to 20 rounds at his girlfriend at a home in Fort Myers on Kent Avenue. That's northeast of Cleveland and Daniels. She wasn't hit, but the sheriff's office says other shots are hitting homes, forcing neighbors to hide. Those neighbors telling Fox 4 they were shocked by what happened just over this matter of seconds.
Plus, opening statements and testimony started today for 33-year-old Wesner Desmarais. So he's standing trial for the killing of FMPD officer Adam Jobbers Miller in 2018. He's also defending himself. Des Morais did not deny shooting Officer Jobbers Miller, and prosecutors showed some video that they claim backs up their claims. You can see parts of that video when you search for this story online at fox4now.com.
And thank you so much for joining us here on this Monday night for Fox 4 News at 6. We've been talking for a long time about these dry days between Lee County, Collier County, some of the driest in the state. But as we take a look at the Bayfront Inn in Naples, you can see the cloud cover. Some of the rain's been pushing through. Most welcome here in Southwest Florida.
Stay with us. Make sure you tune in tonight to Fox 4 News at 10 o'clock. Fox 4 certified meteorologist Katie Walls will have your full update on what to expect this week as we are expecting that oncoming rain. We'll see you back here at 10.